Now, this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't think people with multiple passions and skills should actually fear AI. And in fact, you should be embracing this as an opportunity for you to excel, elevate financially, actually make the impact that you probably want to in the wider world and your community, and take this basically by both hands and go forward. As a senior engineer in the tech space, a content creator, aspiring artist, all of the other things I do, I'm actually thinking that this is a prime opportunity, despite the fact that there are a lot of actually real fears. You know, the idea that AI is going to make us all unemployed, diminish what critical thinking is left within our species and so forth. But I'm still pretty optimistic. In this video, I'm going to share why it is our time to elevate and why we're positioned to do so, but also some of the ways that you can ensure that you are ready to take this opportunity, like I said, by both hands, as opposed to getting left behind or actually incurring some of those real issues. Now, disclaimer before I go any further. I am fully aware that with each new technology, there are a number of trade-offs and losses, right? Insert any technology, the internet, the device that you're watching this on, right? Nuclear power. And so I'm not going to pretend that there aren't going to be real consequences. But in this particular video, I want to speak about the opportunities for this group of people here that I think that I fall into and a lot of people do. So let's just get into it. The first way that you as a multi-skilled and passionate person are primed to take advantage of this new kind of AI era is to do with innovation and your unique set of skills and configuration of skills. Now, we know that a lot of innovation, right, a lot of progress comes often when we combine things from multiple domains, right? It's engineering and art, if you'd like, or code and transportation with like autonomous cars and things of that nature. And so if you have spent years, right, within multiple domains, building out skills in, say, the engineering space, the artistic space, communication and socials, you are potentially primed to see some of these opportunities, some of these gaps, some of the ways that we can make and bridge these domains to form solutions to problems that we have now and those that haven't yet surfaced, perhaps even some of those ones that will come as a result of AI. It's not even just on the engineering and practical application side. Even in art, we see that some of the most interesting innovations and progress in movements have come from incorporating things from different domains. I believe we're going to be very valuable in this new world, right? When it comes to innovating and moving things forward, whether you're working for a company or actually just building out your own business or so forth, or making an impact in your community in X or Y way, you have a configuration of skills and an ability to see across domains that is going to make you incredibly valuable. I actually think it's more challenging to replicate a brain like this and like, you know, within an AI agent or so forth than it is somebody who's more one-dimensional. And that's not to say that people like this won't have their place, because I think there's going to be a world where you'll have people who are on the multi-dimensional side and those few who are also very, very deep into one thing that can also pull a lot out of AI and all the new technologies. But that's kind of a tangent. I have personally seen in my life how my unique set of skills, right? So not just the fact that I'm an engineer, but all the other things that I've done that I mentioned has actually placed me in a unique spot when it comes to my engineering world and my engineering career. I think my brain works differently when it comes to solutions. Now, I might not be the best programmer ever, and I'm not going to pretend that I am. However, when it comes to high level thinking, right, when it comes to pitching ideas to problems that we have, solutions for problems that we have, I notice that my brain works differently to the other engineers in the teams that I've been in. And a lot of that is to do with my background, my configuration of skills. And this is just going to be amplified in an AI era where we have these agents and we have AI doing a lot of our singular, repetitive, well-defined kind of linear tasks, and then it opens up all this space for the rest of us. And I will say, I know that corporate doesn't really lean to this at the moment. Like, if we're honest, it's still very well-defined roles where they're not really looking always for the innovators or people who cross domains or cross departments. However, I have been seeing with startups or with companies that are more content-driven and so forth, this idea of pitching your own role. And I think I saw Stephen Bartlett do this twice actually with his company. And I think this is an understanding that there are people who have a unique set of very valuable skills, but they don't fit neatly into boxes. Right? And again, as we drive into this AI era where we can get AI to do very specific tasks, you're going to want to bring those people in. The next reason why we're primed to take advantage and flourish within this new AI era, and why I don't think we should be as fearful as the world is suggesting, is to do with learning and adaptation. Going back to that idea that if you have been developing skills and diving deeper into multiple domains, you have probably developed an understanding of how you learn best, how you acquire knowledge, and how you apply it to, broaden your skill set. So with that in mind, you are a unique individual in the sense that you can actually move pretty fast, right? You can see when there is a new technology that is worth incorporating, adapting, and learning, and applying that to the environment that you're in. Again, whether that is like corporate, or whether that is your own business, or whatever endeavor it is that you are on effectively. Even with something like AI, instead of being paralyzed because there is this new technology in front of us that potentially will disrupt organizations and industry, your brain goes to, oh, how can I learn this new skill? How can I learn this technology and make it work for me? How can I adapt to this evolving world? Because whether you like it or not, the world will continue to evolve, right? As much as you might scream and kick up a fuss like people probably have with the internet and with socials, it's here and it's changed the way that we have moved as a society, if you would like. So you're thinking though, but how can I actually learn this? And like I said, adapt and then make the impact that I want. Because if you come from that frame of mind as somebody with multiple passions and skills who knows the value of being able to adapt and learn and use the tools around you to your advantage, you can then actually start to make an impact in the way you want. If one of your fears around AI is around critical thinking, right, and the youth and what's going to happen, perhaps you actually use AI, you use the power of the agent that you have, and the fact that you don't actually need a team of 6 people to develop a product, a tool, a service, an offering that helps with this, that helps solve some of these problems that, are very real. And again, I'm not trying to pretend that AI is this magical thing that's just all good, but I'm saying there's opportunities here to make a real impact. And with the learning and adaptation skills that you have as a multi-passionate, multi-skilled person, you're primed to do that. Even in other realms, okay, let's go away from impacting AI issues and AI problems, right? There are real business problems and real business issues that need to be tackled, right? People have problems to do with content, they have problems to do with health, with wealth, with all of these key areas as well. You can be using AI, right? Because you've decided to learn, understand how it works, and understanding the impact it can have, and build out your own. And I actually also think that as AI transforms organizations and industries, you're primed to move around more, again, because of this learning and adaptation that you have cultivated over the years, right? So if there is a lot of, change going on, instead of being that, like I said, sit there, don't know what to do, your brain is already thinking, like, we could do this, we could adapt in that way. And again, I think that would make you very valuable in an organization. And actually just for the society itself, we need people like that. The third way is around communicating online and offline. And now this is where things get a little bit more specific to your skills that you have, and where I'm actually going to lean on what I think you should be tapping into if you're not already. So communication at this point, I think we know how important it is, right? But not just online and in crafting a brand and getting yourself out there, but also offline. And I'm going to dive deeper into this. I've been building my personal brand online for over 5 years now. I've had this YouTube channel, my other platforms, and I have seen just by doing that, right? So not being so singularly focused on my career and, being an engineer or whatever it is, understanding that actually if I broaden my skill sets to include one that is driven by communication and my ability to articulate my value, my interests, my beliefs, that was going to become very important. Like even without AI, I think I could see that was an important part, an important step, but it's only going to become more important in this new AI era. People and opportunities gravitate towards effective communicators. So if you have been a multi-skilled and multi-passionate person, and one of those skills you've been developing is in the world of communication, and not necessarily just online, but offline, as I'll talk about in a moment, you're placed to, again, make the most out of some of these new opportunities, these changes that are going to occur because of AI and because of the changes and disruptions that it's causing within industries. I believe that I'm positioned to leverage this brand that I have been building, that this trust that I've been forming, and the ideas that I share in an era where I also have access to this technology that actually helps me further that. Right? Think about it. I can actually make more content, spread it across platforms more effectively, more efficiently, still in my voice, still in my tone, still my ideas and beliefs because of this software, right? Or because of this technology that now exists. This is one of the reasons that I talk so much about like personal branding and using that as a way to further your opportunities in this evolving landscape. And actually, as much as AI is out there and, people are using it either in isolation to make profiles and things of that nature, and that's a whole thing in itself, I think people are still drawn to human beings right now. And I don't think AI is doing an amazing job at that yet. That's not to say it won't get to that point. But the more human you are, which you are by default, like that unfair advantage from you and AI, you're actually just born human. You got that one, right? You live everyday experiences in a way that AI agent does not, right? Your interactions with everyday people. And if you are making the most of this, if you are an effective communicator, like I said, both online and offline, you can enhance this. You can enhance the personal element of you. I did recently do a video on personal branding for multi-passionate, multi-skilled people. So if you want to check that out afterwards, go ahead. There's like a little guide thing attached as well. But now I actually want to turn to being a good communicator offline, because again, as a multi-skilled, multi-passionate person, this is something that I've also dived into, and why I'm not as fearful as I think the world would like me to be about AI, because we are trending right towards more in-person events, workshops, networking, as people become fatigued with the internet in general, right? Even before AI, there was a sense that people were getting tired of effectively being online all the time, chronically online, interacting online, and there's a disconnect. In an attempt to become more connected, we became disconnected. And so there's a correction for this. And so last time I checked, we hadn't got to the point where the AI agents were in a human format, like looking body, and were turning up and delivering workshops, or were at networking events connecting with new people, or right, like painters. They're not there, right? And so you still have that opportunity, that ability to leverage that. And this is why, again, I'm saying if you haven't been developing these particular skills in your configuration, I think that you should. I think that you should take that ability to learn and adapt and dive deeper into this one, because I think this opens up a world of opportunities for you, and for you to use those skills that you have, that ability to connect with people across domains, right? You might be talking to an engineer one day, someone in the artistic space the other day, somebody in transport, because you've become so versed in the world and connecting with people. It's funny because even brands are understanding this. Like, there's more pop-up events, there's more in-person events. I even think it's the reason why my first ever in-person event in London sold out, and why I'm getting messages like almost every week, almost every day, regarding when is the next one, like when are we doing this again. So just bear that in mind. And the final reason I believe that we are primed for this new world is to do with entrepreneurship and freelancing. Look, respectfully, if you do lose your job because of AI, and again, I don't want to say that in a fleeting way that I don't think that's going to have an impact, and that I'm not saying that you shouldn't be sad, or, there's real consequences to that. If you have been building out the skill sets that we've been talking about, right? So the actual skill and the passion itself is one thing, but the adaptability, the innovation, the learning abilities, right? The communication, you have all of that. You are potentially in a prime position, right, to go towards entrepreneurship and freelancing and becoming less reliant on corporate structures or others employing you to make a living and make an impact, right? Because of all of the wealth of things we have just spoken about. Also, if you are developing something from scratch in a freelance or entrepreneurship capacity, often you're forced to wear multiple hats, especially at the beginning, right? If you don't have access to an abundance of capital or people, right, or other forms of leverage, then you're going to be wearing many hats. And if you're used to wearing many hats across domains, again, you have a level up. You've also probably been working on your ability to context switch effectively. That doesn't mean the same as multitasking. That's not actually what I'm saying at all. But you do know how to switch, like I said, context when it comes to maybe now you're working on art, or maybe now it's come to engineering. Actually, now you're actually being able to spot where, despite the fact that these are separate things, they can come together in unique ways. Effectively, you can create your own role that does not require the approval of a company, and effectively build out your own ecosystem to solve problems. So those are some of the reasons why I'm personally not as stressed about AI as the world would like me to be. Again, like I said, going back to it, there are going to be real consequences, and we'll see how this ages in all fairness. But I actually did want to wrap this up with a summary of some of the things that I think, again, you should work on or just think about to prime yourself for this new world. The first one, like we said, is being open to innovation and thinking about how things can connect to solve real problems. The second one was learning and adaptation. Ensure that you are really becoming versed in how you learn, how you acquire skills, that you know that, and that you can pivot and switch accordingly. Effectively, you can adapt. The third one, like I said, was about focusing on your communication skills offline and online, right? Tapping into what makes you uniquely human, what makes you uniquely placed to connect with other human beings. And the fourth was prepping for the real likelihood that you will pivot into entrepreneurship or freelancing. How can you best prepare yourself? How can you become attuned to not only skills and things of that nature, but solving and identifying problems people have and how you may solve those, because that's effectively what business is, right? There is a problem, you solve it, somebody gives you some money for it, right? There's an exchange of value. I have the solution to your problem, you want your problem solved, you give me some money, I give you the thing, it's done. And so those are just some thoughts I had. Now, I've had this video kind of in mind for a while, but after posting on LinkedIn and Threads and seeing the response, I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's have the conversation. So I have a wealth of resources for people with multiple passions and multiple skills. I have the newsletter. I have the video on how to manage these, how to brand. So just get stuck in. I'll leave everything in the description. I will see you in the next video.